You know what? I've had a hankering lately for some cinnamon rolls. Now, I don't make them very often. One reason is, although I do have a pretty good recipe, it's a restaurant portion kind of recipe, and I don't really need 100 cinnamon rolls. The problem with baking, though, is if you just start cutting ingredients to make it smaller, it doesn't always taste or work out the same way. So I had to play around with this just a little bit. Now let's look at our ingredients down here. Now up here, basically what I have is 3 ounces of scalded milk, and I put in there 2 teaspoons of active yeast, and I'm proofing it. You can see it is proofing. It's getting nice and bubbly. That's what you want to see. 1/2 of an egg, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and basically 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now over here in this bowl, I have 1 1/4 cups of bread flour, and to give it a little bit of body, I've got 1/4 cup of pastry flour, but you could use a whole wheat flour or something like that if you want to. Now what we need to do is put them all together. We're going to use a dough hook with a KitchenAid mixer. I love my KitchenAid mixer. If you don't have one, it's a great device to have in a kitchen for just about any kind of mixing. So what we're going to do here, number one, let's go ahead and put in the salt. Okay, we can mix that in a little bit here. You don't have to go too crazy with this. All right, let's take the butter and let's drop that in just like that. Piece of cake, as they say. In this case, a piece of a cinnamon roll. Let's put in our syrup. Just like that. The egg. Almost lost control of that for a second. Okay. And the proofed yeast along with the 3 ounces of scalded milk. All right. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. Let's go ahead and hook this bad boy up. Put on the dough hook. Okay, I'm going to raise it up right over here and put it on low and slow. Now, every once in a while, you can stop and scrape down the sides to get the flour into the liquid. And we're going to do that a couple of more times. Okay, now the dough has formed, let me bring this down, has formed a ball. Just like this. Now what we're going to do with this, let me get this out of the way here. I have a bowl that I've brushed with some butter. I don't want to use oil in this recipe for some reason. And we're going to put that in there, just like this. I'm going to turn it around just a little bit to get some of that butter on it. We're going to put it in this bowl. I'm going to cover it, just like this. What we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to put it in a non-drafty area of the house where it's, kind of like room temperature, and we're going to let it double in size. Now it's going to take about 90 minutes, so let's go ahead and do that now. Now while we're waiting for our dough to rise, let's go ahead and make the filling and the glaze for the top. It's actually pretty simple, but I have a twist to that too. Look down here. What I've got is some brown sugar, and this is 4 tablespoons. And I'm going to put this into my little mini prep here, if I can get it out. All right. I've got about just under a tablespoon of flour. I find that gives it some body. I'm going to put that in here. 2 teaspoons of really good cinnamon. Now, I recommend Vietnamese cinnamon. It is the best, but make sure it's fresh. I'm going to put that in here. Just like that. Now here's my twist, if you will. So over here I have butter, but it's not just butter, it's absolutely frozen butter. This butter has been frozen in the freezer. Let me go ahead and mix this around a little bit. Lost control of it there for a minute. You're going in there. Now I freeze the butter. I use a mini prep with an S blade on it. And I stick this on here like this. And watch this. What I've got then is a mixture that looks like this, and the butter is very separated. I'm going to put that in here, and I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of scalded milk, and then I'm going to mix in a 1/2 cup of walnuts. That's an optional thing, all right? And we're just going to mix this up just like this. So we've got butter, we got walnuts, we got brown sugar, we got cinnamon. What could go wrong with this? Now, once you've got it nice and mixed up like this, what we're going to do is we are going to put this in the refrigerator to keep it cool. It's going to look like this. It's going to look loose. That's exactly what I want. Okay, just make sure it's well mixed. And let's put that in the refrigerator, cool it off, and get ready to do our glaze. Now, the glaze is relatively simple. I don't want a really gooey mess on top of these things. I want the cinnamon roll itself and the filling to be the star, but I do want a little bit of a glaze on the top. So what we have here is 1/4 cup of confectioner sugar. To that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of melted butter, and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. And this is the real thing, guys. Don't forget that. Don't get that stuff that's in the bottle that kind of looks like a lady. I don't know what that is. And we're going to mix this up just like this. And what I want to do here is I'm going to add just a little bit of scalded milk till I get the consistency I want. And just get that all nice and mixed up. And that's really all I want to do. I'm going to make the glaze simple, and we're going to emphasize the roll itself. Now, we still have a bit of time before the dough is ready. I would leave this out at room temperature. Don't put this in the refrigerator. You got it all mixed up just like this. Set it off. Now all we got to do is wait for that dough to rise. Okay, the dough is out. I've got it right over here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to lightly dust a surface that we can roll it out on. Just like that. I'm going to take it out of here. Go ahead and lay it out. Now what I want here is something about 7 inches wide and about 12 inches long. This board does have a measuring system on it, so I can use that. I'm just going to roll this out. And I've got a bench scraper here that I love working with because I can do this. All we're trying to do here is get this thing about 7 inches wide. Just like this, by about 12. Now, if you need a little bit more flour, that's fine. And it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. These are rustic. At least that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it for a while. I'm going to bring this over like this. Push that back down and roll that in. Okay, now I love these things. It's called a bench scraper. They are just great for getting under things that are a little bit stuck. Just like that. Very easy to work with. Let me see if I do a little bit more over here. And a little bit more over here. Now I'm going to go into the refrigerator and let's get our filling. There it is. Now, we're going to take it and we're going to lay it right on here. I might not use it all, but knowing me, I probably will. And just kind of do that. Oh, what the heck. I don't make these that often. I'm going to try to get it all the way to the edges. Just like that. Now let me come over to this side here and get this thing started, because what we want to do is we want to roll it. That's why I think they're called cinnamon rolls, but I'm not sure. Okay. I love that bench scraper. All right. Now, these will make about 8. About 8. So let me go ahead and come over here and pick up a knife. And what I'm going to do is cut it right about in half. Well, not about, I'm going to try to get right in half. Okay, then cut this one and this one both in half. And then do the same thing again with these two. Okay, just like that. Now what I've done is put them on a lightly greased baking sheet. We're going to cover them, put them in a non-drafty place, and allow them to rise for another 20 minutes. Okay, the suspense is over. I let them rise for about 20-30 minutes. I put them in a 375-degree oven for 23 minutes. That's how long mine took to brown. So if you want to look down here, here they are. Now I brushed them with some of our glazing. I want to tell you something. These are absolutely amazing. I would take a bite on the air, but it is against the law to have an orgasm on public television. Therefore, I'm going to take a bite after I say goodbye. I think you're going to like them. Go ahead and try them. This is Andy Anderson saying, keep the faith, guys, and keep cooking.